Welcome to Is That Homeopathy, where ancient wisdom meets modern healing. We're here to demystify homeopathy and share practical, heart centered insights for your holistic journey. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Is That Homeopathy, the channel where we answer your questions about what homeopathy really is.
So, if you've ever wondered why homeopathy is so specific, so gentle, and yet so powerful, this is the episode for you.
Today, we are breaking down the four foundational principles of homeopathy, what they are, how they work, and why they matter.
And if you've ever been a little skeptical, that's totally understandable, but stick with us. We think some of this will really surprise you.
Yeah, I am so excited about this episode. Um, I think that this is really kind of at the core for defining what is homeopathy and what is not homeopathy. Because if it is not these four principles at minimum, it is not homeopathy.
Right.
So let's get started with the big one, the law of similars, or like cures like. And what this means is that a substance that causes symptoms in a healthy person can be used to treat those same symptoms experienced by someone who is sick.
Right. So think of the stereotypical reaction to a bee sting. There may be swelling, redness, sensitive to touch, heat, burning, stinging.
And in that case, right, we would, as a homeopath, we would recommend the use of apis,
Hmm.
which is actually a remedy made from the venom or the venom from a bee. Bees don't bite, bees sting.
Right. So that is such a perfect example of the cause also being the cure. And there's so many things that may look like that apis reaction that's not actually some kind of insect sting. So once you have that in mind, you may start to see, okay, my eyes are puffy, my throat feels really swollen and it's better from cold. So it's funny, but that's just if you imagine how you react to that sting, if your symptoms in that moment are also similar, then think apis because that might be a good match.
Yeah. So, the idea also shows up in conventional medicine too, right?
Right. So you could think like them prescribing amphetamine salts to someone that has ADHD. Normally you would think that amphetamines would give you energy, right? Why would you gives someone that's hyper energy? But when you think about the like cures like principle, it is actually that match that helps mellow that person out, even though someone that didn't have ADHD taking amphetamine salts would be all over the place probably. So that's an example right there.
Yeah, it's also like when they give nitroglycerin for somebody that's experiencing heart attack symptoms too, right?
Hmm.
So nitroglycerin in its potentized form and its homeopathic form is also used for those similar symptoms. So that's also another example of that, like cures like principle, but in conventional medicine. Now, in homeopathy, we don't typically use different pathogens and it doesn't really work by antibodies, but the logic of a similar stimulus creating healing is very familiar across both allopathic and homeopathic modalities.
Right. So let's go into the second principle, the law of minimum dose.
Yeah.
So that can look different to different people. So the minimum is the minimum required of that person. And
Yeah.
so it's not always okay, we just want to give one dose and not give another. We want to give a dose and watch because that person may need five or six doses before they finally reach that point where their vital force is taking care of it. And then some people may just need a little olfactory dose and it might just be a single dose. So the minimum can look different depending on the individual.
Yeah, this one I feel really confuses people a lot because we have that um, where the minimum is different across, but we also have the minimums in terms of the potency as well, right?
Right. Yes.
So, and it's actually inverse. So, a minimum dose is a higher potency because it is diluted more.
Right.
So
Right.
that's also something you have to keep in mind, which can be really confusing because the number looks bigger,
Yes.
and a lot of people are used to pharmaceutical medications where 200 milligrams is more than 50 milligrams, right? But
Right.
in homeopathy, a smaller dose is actually 200 C versus a 30 C because it
Right.
has been diluted more.
Right. But the 200C is deeper acting. So that took me a minute. So if that
Yes.
confuses you, welcome. We've all went through that. It's like the
Welcome.
initiation into homeopathy. So,
Yes, yes. That is definitely, this is definitely one of the things where the concept sounds very simple,
mhm,
but it's actually it's really important, first of all, and it is extremely confusing because it's counterintuitive
mhm,
to what you've been fed your whole life in the allopathic model. And I think if you think about it in terms of the mode of action being not necessarily chemical in nature, but
mhm.
more of a physical or a physics-based method that will help kind of set the groundwork for your understanding a little bit better.
Right.
So in with the totality of symptoms or that principle, we're looking at the whole person. So you'll often hear homeopaths say, we don't care about the name of the disease. We don't
Mhm.
care about the label that you're given. We want to understand the symptoms. And this principle is exactly what what that is based off of, like why we're saying that we don't care about the disease name.
Right, right. So that means that we're looking at everything. We're looking at the physical symptoms, we're looking at the emotional state, the sleep patterns, the fears, what makes it better or worse, how it started, and anything that's peculiar to that person that doesn't quite make sense for what they're experiencing in that moment. Those are going to be the guiding force to help direct us to a really good match for them.
Yeah, and the reason why we do this is because those symptoms are how your body is expressing an imbalance in its symptom, I'm sorry, in its system. Um, those imbalances form a pattern or a picture, and that's really what we're looking for. We're looking to understand the picture of your symptoms so we can match it to a picture of a
Mhm.
remedy.
Right. So it's kind of like detective work. You're not just trying to treat the smoke, you're looking for the fire that's causing the smoke. And that takes a little investigation sometimes to find, zooming in and out to get the full picture.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's actually a really good analogy or way to look at it. And so you can think about even if two people have a migraine, how they each experience that migraine may be very different. One person may be more sensitive to light, one person may
Hmm.
be more sensitive to sound. And it's really important to understand those nuances to really get the best remedy match for them.
Right. And that brings us to our final principle, individualization.
Yeah, so there is absolutely not a one size fits all approach in homeopathy. Um, it is personalized medicine through and through, and every remedy is chosen based off of your own unique experience with your symptoms.
Right. So it's like going to the store and getting a suit made just for you, tailored just for your body versus just picking out something off the rack. Even if this particular suit looks similar to another one, it actually fits you perfectly. It's tailored to your specific body and your what you as a person. So,
This is also, I think, why classical homeopathy takes time. We're
mhm.
not just matching a remedy to a diagnosis, we're matching a remedy to a person. And in order to do that, we need to understand that person.
Right. So you and I could both be having anxiety, but the remedies that match us may look completely different because of, the cause of that anxiety may different. The way we feel it in our body may look different. Um, so I feel like once people can really ground this concept, it starts to really take off from there because it really starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah. So, to recap, the four principles then are first the like cures like, the minimum dose, the totality of symptoms, and then individualization.
Right. And even though sometimes it looks like magic, it's not. It's a system that's built on observation, pattern, pattern recognition, and listening to our body.
Yeah. So, if this sparked your curiosity or even raised maybe some new questions that you have, just drop them in the comments. And we love a good question, and respectful dialogue around this is always welcome. Um, so, let us know.
Yeah. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode.
And we'll see you next
See you next
time.
time. Thanks for tuning in to Is That Homeopathy, where ancient wisdom meets modern insight. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be curious too. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to explore, drop them in the comments. We're here to keep the conversation flowing. Until next time, stay curious, stay balanced, and remember, healing begins with awareness.